panel, but here, I started recording, so I guess I can introduce myself real quick. My name is Jackie. I'm a graduate student in the computer science department. Actually, Monica, can you share the screen again? Because I want to have the pictures of all the panelists real quick. Yeah, we can sort of do some housekeeping first. So if you want to ask any questions, feel free to if you want to ask them anonymously, you could private message them to me, or you can ask them in chat and I'll try to curate them for our panelists. But I have a few general questions first, so we can get started with those to get to know the panelists a little bit and know a little bit about their background. So maybe you could target your questions later on knowing this information. So I guess we can start off with sort of an introduction question. So can you sort of introduce yourself? What major or college were you in before you transferred into CS, and sort of the involvement you're in right now? We can start from long and go left to right, top to bottom.
Okay, cool. Hi everyone, my name is Long. Before transferring to CS, I was also in media, but as an advertising major. And then later on, I transferred during my fourth semester, so that's like the end of sophomore year.
Hi, I'm Daniel. Before transferring into CS, I was in pre-engineering, and I transferred in fall 2020, which was my fifth semester. So I applied the semester before that.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sarod. I am currently, before I did CS, I was, and I transferred also in fall 2020. So that was my fourth semester as well.
Cool, awesome. So could you sort of tell us, when did you want to know that you wanted to transfer into CS? Tell us about your experience with the process. And also, I guess there's three components to this question, but the last component is, what do you think is the most pivotal sort of aspect of your application that helped you transfer into the program? I guess we can start from reverse. Sarah, you want to go?
So yeah, so I kind of had an idea enough that I wanted to do CS. I applied to CS kind of facetiously. I didn't really think about doing CS much in high school. But then I came here and I just took 125, and I really to kind of be interested in doing it for real. I'm sorry, what was the other person's question?
Yeah. So your overall experience and some aspects of your application that you thought were pivotal for you to get into this program.
Yeah, my overall experience, I guess, was it wasn't bad. It was kind of stressful for the first 2 years, I guess, of college, not if I did this major or not. So kind of trying to go through that to figure out what I was going to do. Otherwise, I knew I wanted to have a backup. I wanted not put all my hopes on this. I knew that there are a lot of competitive applicants out there, and I didn't. I tried to make my application the best it could be, but I didn't want to be left hanging because something that I was depending on didn't work. I guess application, I'm not sure exactly. I was on 125 course staff for 2 years. So I guess of last year when I applied, I was on the course staff for 1 year, and I was doing some RSO stuff. And I really, because I was in finance, because I was applying to CS plus econ, I think I kind of had a connection on people where it's I'm not just applying to this because it's because of CS. I'm applying to it because I really care about econ. I really care about matching these two together, which is kind of the point of the major. So yeah, I think that probably helped. And just, I really wanted to do the major. I wasn't looking at CS really. I was just looking at I like CS, I like econ, and I wanted to combine them. And I think that really showed my app.
All right, Daniel. So what is this again? So when did you want to know? What did you know? How was the process and pivotal components of your application?
I think I knew I wanted to do CS even halfway through high school, maybe, because I was taking coding classes online, but nothing too advanced, and I never finished any of them. I just liked coding. And then I applied to UIUC as a senior, and I didn't get into CS, but I did get into pre-engineering. And I would say like up until the point, like for the first 4 semesters of school here, I was just very like stressed all the time about my application. And like thinking back about like how my first 2 years went, I would just recommend trying to stress less. Just like, because my backup plan was information sciences, which is like a relatively new major for undergrads, I think. And I think even if you have to go with your backup plan, it's fine because you don't need a CS degree to pursue CS as like a career. If you can code, that's pretty much all you need. So it's not the end of the world if you need to go through your backup plan, but it's still good to not stress too much about it over your 2 years, because after all, college is short and you want to have fun during it. You don't want to just be stressed out for the entire time. As for my application, I'm honestly really not sure what the most pivotal part was. I was a little surprised I got in because I had like a 3.4 something GPA, which is like a lot lower than they wanted. But I was also on CS 125 course staff for 2 years, and I eventually was a head course assistant. And I guess I was like, I talked pretty regularly with the professor, Jeffrey Challen. So I don't know if having a good connection with the professor helped my application, but I definitely recommend being on course staff for some course in the fields you're interested in, because that shows that you're really passionate about what you want to do.
Cool. Yeah, I would totally like sound off on the having fun in college aspect of it, of what you said. So yeah, Long, did you want to talk about again what you know, your experience and pivotal aspects of your application?
Yeah, so I took 125 in spring 2019. That was when Daniel was like the course captain for 125, and through there I met like a bunch of good people in 0403, and you know, we formed like cool study groups, and everyone was really helpful with each other. And the course staff was also really cool, like with Rima and AJ, everyone involved, Nikhil as well. So that kind of inspired me to enter, because compared to advertising, it took me much longer to really make connections with people in my major at the time, which was advertising. But with CS, you know, something really clicked, and you know, it was challenge. It was challenging every day, but you know, you get to progress more and more and learn, you know, how to think through problems. And I think that's a very valuable skill. So that's why I was interested in doing CS in the first place. And like, it's empowering too, because all you need is a laptop, internet connection. You can be anyone anywhere in the world and just do it. With applications, I would say my essay would probably be very important. One of it was, so Monica and I, we both transferred into CS and advertising, and one of it is the regular one, like why you want to transfer in. And it's good to mention, you know, like half and half, like half of the X and half of the CS experience that you had. And later on, I took a leadership position in 125 as well. So I mentioned that, and I thought it was really cool to put in. And then another one was about, you know, any hiccups in your grade. So 173, I got like a B minus, which was less than ideal. And I thought I was going to screw up, but I thought, you know, let's just keep going. We've gone this far, and, you know, other classes like gen eds and advertising, they really propel your GPA up. So why not just take the chance? And luckily it paid off. And Monica was also like, this semester she was really stressed too, and I just told her, don't worry, you got this. But yeah, that's it. Should take questions, I think people have.
Yeah. We had Mir, did you want to ask your question? Go ahead.
Hi, yeah. So I had a quick question. Did any of you guys take classes outside of UIC? I'm actually taking one of my math classes outside of U of I, and I'm just wondering if that's something I should consider on whether or not that'll affect my app.
So yeah, you're cutting off a little bit there, but I can repeat your question. So you're taking classes outside of the University of Illinois, and you're seeing how whether that would impact your application, and whether or not any of our panelists had that experience of taking courses outside of the school. So, any
I have not taken any classes outside of UIUC, but based on my discussions with advisors and what I've just heard from other people, as long as it's not like one of the core classes for your application, it doesn't matter. So like if you're applying to CS, I don't think the math classes matter, but if you're applying to math and CS, then it probably would. So yeah, I don't think it matters that much if you're taking a non-required class or like a non-major class outside of UIUC.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I took some classes, Parkland, which is the community college, just as gen eds, and French classes before college, and I mean I don't think that really affected it. Like I'm not applying, like looking at you as like a CS major, and if you're applying to the X, then as an X person, they're not looking at you. They don't care like how you did in like Atmos 120 or whatever. I mean, I'm sure if you did badly gen ed, then they'll maybe they'll consider it, but like it's really that important, because like the point of a major is that you like kind of specializing in that. So I mean, yeah, I don't think it's gonna really matter.
Cool. I think Vihesh, you had a question about sort of like workload and about CS 173 and CS 225. I guess like a lot of the questions that I see either from students or on the subreddit is like these combinations of CS classes of whether or not it's doable, like how much workload could you take on? And I mean, usually the answers to those questions are like, it depends, but I wonder if any of the panelists had any experience of like taking too many courses and feeling overwhelmed, or not taking enough courses that you feel like your application is sort of or your sort of window of opportunities sort of closing. So I guess the question overall is like, how did you deal with the courses that were required for you to have a competitive application to get into the program?
Yeah, I guess I'll go.
Mhm.
I took 26 credits, I think, in spring 2020, which is the semester when I applied before I started CS. And yeah, that was not a good idea. Although I mean, I kind of had to do it for reasons, but also that was a semester that COVID, so we kind of went online after spring break, which made it a lot worse. But I mean, I would recommend. Okay, I mean, I guess it depends on like, you, like I don't know you, you know you, so like you know how well you work under stress. You know, like workload good enough for me or not. Your advisors will try to help you, and you should take their advice. Don't be like me and like write them off, because that doesn't really work. But like if you're like questioning whether it is good for you, I don't think like we or our /UIUC or your advisors are really the best for that. Like you should like sit down and think like, why do I want to do this? Why might this be good? Why might this not be good? What does this possibly mean for my application? Like the people that are reading your application are human beings. So like they're not expecting you to do superhuman things. They're expecting you to be like a regular college student. So if you like think that you're going to do some workload and you're going to kill yourself and you're going to really go for it, and you're like, you hate your life for that semester, showing your application. So yeah, I mean, I think it's best for like, if you have that, you should ask like that to yourself, kind of introspect on that.
Okay, so anything else to build off of that sort of self-reflection? Long, did you want to say something about sort of workload?
Take it easy, man. Don't
Yeah.
push yourself. You'll kill yourself. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more to it. There's social life. There's sleep. You can have all of that, not at the same time sometimes, but you can have all of that. And, you know, balance it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Don't overwork yourself, because it's important to not just like having good grades is important and fulfilling the requirements is important. Yeah, but it's also good to like have a social life, make friends, be physically healthy. Also, like don't go sleep depriving yourself for an entire semester. And overloading like 26 credit hours sounds kind of insane to me. I will say that one of the most common like double up things that people do is they'll take 225 and 233 together, which is actually very doable in my opinion, because the classes are like different. They're like difficult, but they're difficult in different ways. So it's not like you're just dying in MPs every week. But yeah, I wouldn't overload yourself if you can avoid it. Like if you need to hurry, like you're approaching your fourth semester and you don't have the classes you need, then yeah, you can overload, but take it easy.
Yeah, so there's another question in chat from Eugene about what you guys did over the summer, and I guess one of the examples was side projects and whether or not if you did side projects and what kind of side projects did you do, if any, but anything to occupy your summers when you're thinking about applying to your CS program.
I'm probably not the best example for this, but I did nothing over any of my summers. I just sat at home and played video games, man. And I still got in. So it was kind of like intimidating because I was out here like relaxing and just taking summers off. I didn't have a job or an internship or anything. No side projects. And I always like saw people, like my friends around me, like doing side projects, like taking extra classes and studying. And it was kind of like, wow, they're like really going ahead and doing it. But I mean, clearly like you don't need them for an application, but they do help a lot. It shows off your expertise in a subject, and it shows that you're interested and passionate enough to pursue stuff outside of class. And it's just a way to have your application stand out from everyone else who is just letters and numbers, where you actually have like an app or a portfolio or something to provide.
Anyone else doing anything over the summers other than relaxing? I mean, I would totally sound off on the idea of relaxing. You're applying to these programs like during your first few years, right? In this program, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. But I mean, I'm not the panelist, so don't listen to me. Long, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I would say I don't know if there are any international students here, but you know, ever since COVID, if this is your first or second year and you may not have anything, just hang out with your family. Because like I haven't seen them in like a year and a half. So, you know, just spend time because later on you'll be working and stuff. So it's not there. And also side projects, anything you like. Anything you thought, oh, I could have done that before, but now after learning coding and stuff, I can automate that. Just do it. Like small steps. Doesn't have to be anything substantial, but you know, just go make like a full thing, like it works from start to end and gives you something cool.
Yeah, I think usual advice for side projects is that you actually want to be interested in doing it because that's going to help you carry yourself through all the annoying debugging that might occur. But Blair, welcome, punctual as ever. Do you want to introduce yourself? Who you are? How did you transfer? Your experience?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jackie. Hey, everybody. I'm
problem.
Blair. Sorry for being late. My alarm did not go off on my nap. I finished work today. I took a nap. Alarm did not go off. Being late is to your being late to events that you said that you would do is not a way that you're going to be able to transfer. So don't take my example on that. I'm Blair. I'm in computer science plus linguistics. And my transfer experience was pretty long actually, because I started in pre-engineering my first year of my first year at University of Illinois. I've been through a lot of experiences, because I didn't transfer into computer science plus linguistics until the end of my sophomore year. So I had taken up to computer science. I just finished taking computer science 233 through in the course of like the core computer science classes. So I didn't transfer for a long time. That's something I wouldn't recommend just because like obviously GPA matters, and they like a lot, it plays a big part into what the advisors and like transfer people look at when they're looking at your application. But yeah, I think the best advice I could give people, just like overall how to transfer, is I think if you really show that you care about the subject that you want to go into. If you're looking for the engineering side, like you probably want to just like be grinding out your computer science stuff. If you're like looking to transfer into an X, you probably also want to show that you like the other side of it, maybe take a couple courses in that, etc. But yeah, I think involvement is like the biggest part. The GPA part can be looked after. Let's say you get like, you're trying to transfer into like CS engineering, you get like a B plus somewhere, you know, you get like a B plus, something like that somewhere along. I think that if like, as long as like, oh, you're going out like trying to show like maybe you get an internship for your sophomore year summer. I did, it got canceled, but I was able to put that on my application. Let's say like you work with computer science 125 for a while. Let's say you work with another course. Let's say like you get involved with some research groups, some like startup stuff on like research stuff, sorry, startups around campus and stuff like that. I think like the application people and the transfer people like really like that type of stuff. So yeah. So like I did all of that, and like I was able to transfer in. So yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind. I think like everyone around here, even if they say like they haven't been involved, like was really involved, you know, like Daniel likes to always talk about how he didn't get involved, like didn't have an internship before his junior year, but he's been bossing me around in 125 for like two to three semesters. So you know, yeah, and now he has an internship with a big company. So like, you know, I think like that involvement like really shows at the end.
Yeah, I feel like a trend that I've been hearing from your answers is having an application that's actually genuine and not appending on this X that you just want to get into the program because you think it's easier. But I think another component that I wanted to cover is sort of the stress aspect of the application process and how you dealt with that, and knowing sort of the numbers associated with the transfer process and whether or not you had a plan B if you didn't get into the program. Like, so I feel like that's sort of important coming in.
Yeah, sorry. I just like I do go on rants about like this that like always circle back to the same topic. That's my bad. Yeah, so I think the stress, like I think the best way to deal with the stress is to realize that it's there, and like but like not have it influence you in a negative way. So I've the only time that the stress really inhibited me was when I allowed it to actually get to me. When it's always going to be present, especially when you're like, oh, especially when this is like a big life step for you, you know. I was super stressed all through my freshman and my freshman year, to an inhibiting point where I would not like sleep like very much some nights. I think that is not the way to let your like stress like control you around. I think my second year I realized that, oh, this like I'm very stressed, and that's okay. Like maybe I can let the stress push me around towards my goals, but not like negatively influence me. Sorry for my pronunciation. I just woke up. Yeah, and I think that that's something to keep in mind. Sorry, what was the second part of that, Jackie?
Plan B.
Oh, plan B. Yeah, so I think I think like a lot of people overlook like the minor in computer science. Um, I think like if you like are doing like a plus X, especially if you get a major in the X and just take a minor and maybe take whatever kind of like extra classes, like, you know, the like databases, security, cybersecurity, stuff like that. You could just do that. And I think that's I think that's really like overlooked a lot of the time. People are stressed about like, oh, I'm not going to get into computer science, my computer science degree, stuff like that. Companies at this point, like unless you're working with like your like interview person is like old and like very like old fashioned, like they don't care about like the degree anymore. Half the people that get hired into Fang at this point don't even like are out of high school. They don't even like or like went to a boot camp. They don't even have a degree in general, you know. um so yeah, I think a plan B could always be the minor. You could always just do like another technology. If you could show a company or like a grad school that you know what you're doing, and like you like want to work with them, like there's like it won't put you at any sort of disadvantage versus someone who actually has the computer science degree.
Sure. So what about the other two panelists about sort of stress and plan B about during your transfer process?
So I came in, I had a 4-year plan on what classes I would take and what semesters I take them, which freshman is not even, but I think like, yes, it's going to be stressful. It's like, it's, I don't like, I mean, I'm not gonna say what, but I don't think, like when I was in class or whatever, I wasn't really spending time thinking about I was spending time what homework I had, whatever. So I think I really kind of just focused on my classes and just like doing what I was doing in them. I mean, I was having fun. I wasn't like, I knew I wanted to go Transfer2CS econ, but I didn't like, I mean, I had a while to get there. Once I submitted the application, that was basically the only, I pretty much only think about that. So, yeah, I think like stress can really get to you if you don't consider it to be a thing, or if you like forget about it, or you just think I'll push. It's there. It will thing you do. It'll affect your application. It'll affect your job opportunities. It'll affect like it'll affect your life basically. And so, I mean, yes, there is an application. Yes, you are here to the application, like what we did to get past it or whatever. You're here at this university, your major, like you got in, or even if you're in prep, like you decided, it was decided somebody at this university that you should be able to come here. So like, you're not big just because you didn't get into CS, or just because you're not the major that you want to be in, doesn't mean that you're not going to go anywhere. Like, you're going to be fine. So I think kind of keeping that in mind kind of helps not stress out that much. I mean, I'm not going to say you're not going to stress out, but kind of keep your head class and stuff. You can stay focused, worry about that, those kinds of things.
For me, I would say having a backup is good, but it was also just really annoying. Like for my first 2 years, everyone said that, and I hated it because it just made me feel like, oh, I'm like not gonna get in. It's like guaranteed. I'm already doomed to fail. Like that was pretty much engineering 101, and 100 was basically them just saying you're probably not gonna get into CS. Here's some backup options. So that was discouraging, but it is good advice, because if you don't get in, you kind of need to have something to do. And it's also just good for peace of mind. Having a backup that you're fairly secure, like in knowing that you'll be able to get in, alleviates a lot of the stress. So like, for example, my backup was information sciences, and I applied for information sciences and computer science at the same time, and the decision for information science came back first, and I got in. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm good. If I don't get CS, I'm fine. I'll have a backup. And that, I think, was not a mindset I would have had at like during my freshman year. Like I would have been devastated to not have gotten into my first choice major, but after going to school for a while, it was like, I enjoy CS and I've taken classes in it, but I know that I can do it from a different major. So I think that's important to know, is that it's not the end of the world if you don't get in. You can still do what you want to do, even if you're not in the major that you want to be in.
Yeah, I think another
stress.
yeah, I think another component that I feel like I'm getting a sense from is that you don't need to major in computer science to actually work in the industry or go to graduate school if you want. I know a lot of people in graduate school who aren't computer science, who didn't major in computer science but are doing computer science work in their graduate education. But that's regardless. I guess the last question we can talk about is sort of who you guys talk to get advice on your essays when you're preparing them for your application.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I wrote my essay on the day. It was the evening, and I just wrote it. I was like, I did not plan this out at all. I am very anxious. Can't write it all, but then deadline days, you get that extra kick. So
I wrote mine on deadline day too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I don't think they care that much about the essay. Like I think like like as long as you're like talking about like something relevant and like you show that you want to be there, and you're like it's not like the essay isn't like, oh, me want CS, please. Like I think you should be good.
Yeah, the most important thing is to demonstrate interest.
Yeah, and also one more thing that I learned, Google Docs apparently it has a good spelling check and grammar check as well. So do that before you send it, because I reread my essay and it had a lot of stuff. So I thought, oh, I'm screwed. But yeah, do that. Don't be like me.
Also, like, don't write your essays for English. Don't write them like they're for an English class. Like, I mean, because you're like to do something they probably want to do. They want to hear you. They don't want to hear like what you think they want to hear, because they will these and a bunch of the same essay. If you're really interested in what you do, I think like when I was really interested in a concrete plan of how I was going to use every part of the major and like how I was going to like answer everything, even though I didn't write them on the deadline day. Like, I mean, look at the essay questions before the day, but I was thinking about the major. So like, I mean, if you're really interested and can kind of rise above this line of like people who don't care, I think that's like going to be cool. Like, yeah, write them like you're actually like, talking to somebody.
Yeah, so I guess that looks back to sort of being a genuine person when writing your essay and not some person that's trying to sound very educated. I think that's an overall good tip on writing. But yeah, I think that does everything for our panelists. So I appreciate you guys' time here. Hopefully that has given you some advice to make your application a little bit better. But yeah, I think we can just call it a day from here. I think, Monica, you want to say anything as we sort of dip?
Not really, but